Action. Welcome to another magnificent episode of the Action Podcast. We're on episode 37, and our new releases for this week, we have All Quiet on the Western Front, which is released on Netflix, Right. Our second film we have is Good Nurse, which is also on Netflix, starring Jessica Chastain and Eddie Redmayne. Our third film is Pray for the Devil, which is out in theaters now. And that's a Blumhouse production, correct, Pete?
Yeah,
another Blumhouse production. Number 4, we have Call Jane, starring Elizabeth Banks and Sigourney Weaver. 4, we have Tar, starring Cate Blanchett. And number 5, we had Run, Sweetheart, Run. So with that, Pete, we're going to start with All Quiet on the Western Front. And a lot of people are going to be like, hey, I might know. I feel like I've heard that before. It's a famous book written in the 1900s, early 1900s, during World War I, or like right after that. And I know for me personally, I read that in high school. Remember it being a tough book, but yeah. So I was kind of looking forward to it, wanted to see what they were going to do with it, because I definitely didn't feel like it's an easy movie adaptation. I know there's a 1930s or 1940s film that I have seen, which obviously is nowhere near what the book is actually like, but I'll tell you what, I really enjoyed this film. I think visually it's really well done. Obviously it's a little too close in my heart to 1917, just because it's very similar subject matter. But with that being said, 1917 won all the Oscars and crushed it. Honestly, I think this movie has a similar trajectory. I don't know what exactly it's going to win. I don't think it's going to win Best Picture, but I do think it might get nominated in the Oscars. And I do think this could crush as the foreign language film, because this is actually a German film. And the big name in this film you might know is Daniel Brühl, who's been in, he was in what, Deadpool 2 or Captain America Winter Soldier. He's scientist guys. And he's been in some other films, but you'll recognize his face. He's kind of got a Ewan McGregor kind of look to him, but German. And but yeah, I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was actually pretty well paced for a 2.5 hour plus film. That's probably the toughest part of this film, is just the length, but I loved it overall. The opening sequence is actually pretty good. The movie just gets going and really sets up the story well. And I think, again, when you're just talking about a story and having a decent script and then building upon that visually with sound and all that, I thought this movie really connected on really a lot of levels, and I really enjoyed watching it. I kind of watched it almost twice just because I had to break it up a little bit, but I highly recommend this. Again, it's on Netflix. And Pete, I know you started watching this, so what were your feelings so far?
Well, I mean, I can't disagree with a lot of what you're saying. I mean, visually, it's really great to look at. The pacing of it is very good. I think the acting doesn't blow you away, but it doesn't take away from the film at all.
A lot of unknown, of course, but it's a German film. We don't know many German actors besides Daniel Brühl.
And I'm watching it with the British English
same
audio, because I just didn't want to focus and try to read while I'm watching a 2.5 hour movie.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think I'm about 60% through it, and I can't wait to finish it.
So you're 3 hours into the film.
I'm 3 hours into a 9-hour film. Thank God it's streaming and I can break it up. But from what I've seen so far, it really kind of the war scenes are great. There are moments where I can see the director really loving Saving Private Ryan. There was a couple of moments where I'm like, I've seen that before, but it's nice. I mean, they didn't like blatantly rip anything off. It really worked within the confines of the storytelling and the visuals. It's not excessively graphic, which is cool. For me, there's nothing that's really just like completely disgusting to look at.
It's still pretty brutal, though.
Well, it's brutal. It's war.
But it's true. This is the most brutal war in the history of mankind.
Yeah, but it's not gratuitous, Paul.
No. Everything that's, like you're saying, what I would consider graphic is very well done and needed and necessary.
Yeah. But I think it also shows it's another example of during the war, where, or any war, the horror that the soldiers go through versus the people that are running the war, and
Yeah. That's literally the point of this.
the decadence, and the cleanliness, the gluttony of what these sort of top people do, while meanwhile
And the arrogance.
meanwhile hundreds and thousands of people are dying. So it's just another example of why war isn't the best thing in the world,
Yeah.
without getting too political. But
No, for sure.
it's just another message that just hammers home. I'm loving this film. I certainly recommend it as well.
Yeah. And what I love, so two other points and we'll move on. One, what I like about this film too, obviously this is a World War One film, but we're seeing it obviously in the German perspective. And the German obviously is not the quote unquote heroes in this film. However, you still find yourself understanding perspective, because it's some of these guys are just, hey, let's follow directions. Hey, they're saying we should fight, all this stuff. And that's a big part of this film, the point of the film. And
they really portray the French like really villainous and diabolical and horrible people.
Right. And they obviously don't show what the Germans did, right? Like the Germans also did a lot of horrible things in this. But again, I think that's the point, is that there's always two sides of the war. Like I know people rip me for this reference, but like in Pearl Harbor, part of what I did enjoy of that is they do show like the perspectives of these Japanese bombers and show them like, these guys are doing a job. They're human. Like they're not looking at necessarily the totality of what they're doing, more of like they're fighting for their country and they're doing this, and it's just a different perspective. And it's always good to see different perspectives in different war. The other thing, and you kind of mentioned this before, but this is a German film, like I mentioned, and the audio dubbing of this, I remember when you watch an audio dub film, it used to be kind of a death sentence for a film. It just sounded terrible.
Horrific.
Yeah. And then the other part is people just, especially English audiences, really struggle with listening to another foreign language film. But I think this film, you're able to put on subtitles, but also again get the British subtitle, British audio dialogue soundtrack, and it works.
You don't even notice a difference.
You barely notice it. The lips rarely off, which is obviously it's different language, but these films and the technology is obviously improving. And what I love about it is this looks like a British made film and or an American film. Again, 1917 is a great comp for this. And you don't know it's foreign language film. So I'm excited for more foreign language films to really get a nice opportunity to showcase their filmmaking abilities, and for American audiences to, kind of expand their palette and watch just great films in general. Because imagine if, Akira Kurosawa had that same opportunity, he would be more popular in American culture. Now, they remade most of his movies anyway, just because they were so good, but a lot of people don't actually know who that is, but he's one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. So with that being said, obviously go see it. That's our recommendation. Number two is Good Nurse, Pete, which probably the number one film in terms of like popularity or like ranking. So Pete, what's your thoughts on Good Nurse on Netflix?
On Netflix, directed by Tobias, right?
Yep.
Tobias Lindholm, who did some episodes of this show called Mindhunter, which is a great show. It's about forget it. Just go and look it up. It's great. Obviously, this stars Jessica Chastain.
David Fincher's the showrunner of that show, if people want to know.
Yes. Starring Jessica Chastain, Eddie Redmayne, two phenomenal actors. This is high ratings up and down the board. It's a for me, I mean, it's good. You should see it. I think it's a bit slow. It's kind of a slow burn.
Yeah.
And
I thought it was marketed terribly too.
Yeah, the marketing was awful. I think I saw one billboard in LA. I thought the performances were fine.
Yeah.
I thought Eddie Redmayne was great. Even when he explodes at the end, he was really good. But I just think it just took way too long to sort of live up to, it was billed sort of as a true crime sort of story, but really wasn't a true crime. I mean, there wasn't a lot of mystery in it.
I didn't know this going into the film, but it is based off a true story, which
Yes.
I must have missed the title, but I don't remember it saying that. And
Well, no, it's based on a book.
it's based on a book, but it's the truth. The guy's a real serial killer. Like
Uh, I
this,
didn't know. I didn't know it was a real life story.
yeah, it's a real life story. So that's my point. Is I feel like the film, even watching it, didn't do a good job of like setting it out. Because for me, I do kind of tune in a little bit differently when I know, oh, this is not just a pure made up story. This is based off stuff, you know. And
Right.
so like about midway through, I'm like, wait, is this real? No, it was at the end. It was at the end once, you know, I don't want to give anything away, but it was at the end, and I was just like, wait, what? And I looked all that stuff up, and I'm like, oh wow, this is a real story. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I feel like they could have done a better job in the beginning of kind of letting the audience know, because again, I think you tune in a little bit differently, and maybe I don't know. I feel like it's always good.
Yeah. The only thing I knew about it going in was obviously the actors, but that it was supposed to be some sort of a true crime sort of story. Um, and I see why somebody would say that, but I wouldn't have used that as a descriptive for people going to see this. Oh, it's a true crime story. Well, it's not a true crime story, because true crime stories leave you guessing most of the time, where it's like, did he really do it? Did he not do it? Or
No,
you
this
don't
is
really
more
find
about
out who did it until the
proving the
end.
case. Yeah.
Yeah, this is all about proving whether or not this guy did it or not. I mean, I thought the police guys were cool. I
Hey,
thought
by
Jessica
the way,
Chastain did
did you
a
did
very
you
great
know who
job.
the other actor was? So Noah Emmerich, he was in like Truman Show and
Yes,
other
and
things. But did you know who the other guy was? The other cop.
um,
I'll give you a hint.
isn't
He's
he?
an all-pro football player.
Oh, really? What was his name?
I'm going to say his name wrong, but not Namdi Asumuga. Asumuga.
Oh,
He's like former Raiders all-proler, like all-world
right.
Eagles. Like this guy was all-world football player and
Oh, he
good
did. He
acting.
did great.
Yeah, he was fantastic. And then his
Yeah,
wife is someone famous too.
yeah,
Um,
he was real good. Um, I think you should see this film just for the performances alone because they are really good. Just brace yourself for a slower paced film. Um, but
oh,
yeah,
Kerry Washington is his wife.
oh yeah, she crushes all the time.
Yeah. Namdi Asomuga. That's how I think that.
Yeah, I remember that name.
Yeah, he was a amazing football player, but obviously he's got
And
a
now
lot.
he's an amazing actor because he killed it. He did such a good job.
Yeah, he's got other acting credentials too. But yeah, he's a budding star, I think.
And the woman lawyer who's in it, she was in like Fear the Walking Dead and stuff. Like she played that role perfectly. Like she just was really
Oh,
heartless.
Kim Dickens.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
really
yeah, she's
heartless.
great. Yeah, she's great in that too. Always solid. Awesome. So yeah, I mean, I'd have nothing. I agree with you. I think this movie was solid. I think it's worth seeing. But yeah, I just thought they didn't do a really good job of like letting us know what this film's about. And but ultimately, again, I agree with you. It's kind of worth seeing, especially the historical aspect. It's kind of a crazy story, and
I
it
want
is
to look up the real story now that you told me it was real.
it,
Now
it
I'm
is
fascinated.
it is interesting. The story in general is interesting. I'm glad they made this a film. And again, just wish they packaged it a little bit better. But overall, a good watch. I agree with you, a little slow, but still worth it. So
It took a bit to get into it, but
yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah, because I thought the movie was going in a completely different direction.
yeah, me too.
Almost the backstory was almost too much, but yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, we digress. I'll say our next film is Pray for the Devil, and right now, as this showed, this was number 3 in the box office, behind, of course, Black Adam, which rolled again to number 1, and then number 2 was what, Smile again? No,
Still,
Still, no, sorry, Still, sorry, uh,
Till?
no, Till was like 5th.
Is it still Till?
Ticket to Paradise stayed
Ah,
number 2.
I like that.
And then Pray for the Devil came in at 7.2 million on I think what, a $10 million budget, maybe 5 million. I know they weren't mad with
No, it was a okay
I think it was a
return.
$10 million budget. It made 12 and a half worldwide. So
Yeah. So this was directed by Daniel Stam, who directed The Last Exorcism. So hopefully he's not getting typecasted as a director. This stars Jacqueline Byers as the woman nun. Well, I guess only nuns are women. Virginia Madsen's in it as well as some other people. Not great reviews. It's an okay movie. It's an incredible premise. You know, the first female exorcist and how she came to be, but it really ultimately just doesn't kind of deliver. You know, they do a whole story about ultimately she had a kid a long time ago or like had it aborted or something like that. I forget, but it just takes, you know, exorcism movies are really difficult to pull off, because we've seen the best version of an exorcist movie, and they all really sort of seem to either do the same thing or try too hard to do something that ultimately doesn't really pan out.
yeah,
Like there weren't any real like jump scares. There wasn't really a lot of like weird stuff. I mean, there were moments, don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's fine if you're just looking to kill some time on a weekend and you wanted to see something kind of scary or whatever. But
yeah.
I agree with the reviews, just not that great.
Yeah, the one review or a couple reviews I saw were basically like you're saying, okay, nothing great, but at the same time, it's still Blumhouse. Like it's still going to be
Yeah.
like a single, but nothing crazy. This is not Smile, Black Phone, some of the other good ones we've seen this
I
year.
feel like
But
one out of every like 5 or 6 movies that I watch are Blumhouse films. Like
they've had a lot this year.
they've had a lot, and I'm wondering, are they doing too much and they're not putting enough focus on
Story.
doing something amazing, right? So, anyways,
The
food
problem is
for
they're
thought.
doing it so low money and making money that
It
they
doesn't matter.
they're kind of I don't want to use the similarity of in terms of like how well they're made, but they're doing almost the Tyler Perry model of low budget. They're hitting their market, and it doesn't really matter what the film is. They're still the reputation is still holding up good enough to where it's still churning out. But
Oh, this
you still need those smiles and black phones to continue that. You know what I mean?
yeah, but this does not take away or diminish the Bloomhouse name at all. I will
Yeah.
always go and see Bloomhouse movies because when they're good, they are great.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Awesome. So let's move on. So the fourth film got a funny story on this one. So the fourth film is called Jane. And I saw this Halloween night and theater was empty. Apparently, there's not a big market on Halloween night to see an abortion film.
Hmm.
And we dressed up for this film and yeah, we're by ourselves. And yeah, it was I'm glad this story's told. This is one of those movies that's like awesome, good story. I don't think it was necessarily executed perfectly, but it was still a good story.
Right.
Again, a little slow developing.
Who's in this again?
Elizabeth Banks and
Elizabeth Banks.
Sigourney Weaver, but it's basically about a woman that is pregnant, but then finds out that she's gonna die if she has the baby, and this is during a time period where abortions were not legal, and you had to get like a hospital approval. Hospital rejects it, and because they think it was like a 50-50, and so they're like, oh well, that's good enough percentage, and so again, it's a good story. Some of this stuff needs to be told. Again, I just think the execution, it just need to kind of speed up. The story could have been a little bit tighter.
Right.
um it was okay, nothing.
Performance is good.
The performance is great. Elizabeth Banks is excellent.
He's always good.
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver's good. Even the doctor, I don't have his name off the top of my head, but did a good job. And again, I love these historical fiction type stories. This is not Till. This is not, some of the other historical type films that we've seen. It was kind of like, it's not as good as The Good Nurse, so I would say it's similar in terms of it's a historical, non. Actually, this is fiction. because it's not a real character, but similar, like a real life story, but but fiction. But yeah, just wanted a little bit tighter. But
Yeah.
if you want to kind of see that type of thing, I would say it's worth it. It's just not number one on my list, if that makes sense.
Sounds
And
like a streaming pick for me.
yeah. It this I don't know if this is a good theater film, to be honest. Like I said, it's just hopefully it wasn't made for a whole lot, but we'll see. I don't even know if it's fully released yet or not, but yeah, actually no, it is fully released. And then the next film I saw this today, and it's called Tar, and
This came out a few weeks ago, I think.
it's not fully released yet, I believe. This movie's still in kind of like the underground, I believe.
I was very intrigued with the trailer of this one, and Cate Blanchett always is amazing. So I'm really excited to hear about if this is good or not.
And
Look
she's
artsy though. Look artsy.
This is 1000% artsy. So that's going to be my big caveat. This film is not for everybody. First of all, it's 2.5 hours long. And then two, I do think you do need to appreciate classical music to really even have a shot of enjoying this film. I also do think this is your more highbrow film audience. Critics absolutely love this film.
Right.
But I think audience members, I'll be honest, I don't even know if I could tell you what the story is. I think this is a film that is more, like I said, artsy versus, man, what a great structural story. Like this, I can't tell you what the story is. And that makes it hard to sum up what the movie's about.
Okay.
But you go on this
That's always
adventure.
difficult when you can't talk about the story.
But what's interesting about this film is I totally thought this was a real person. And it's like they do such a good job of making it feel like this is a real life person in today's world. And it's some interesting subject matter. Again, I love just the conversation of music and what goes into it. The Cate Blanchett again like crushes it, and her perspectives in this film are interesting because again it just deals with kind of music theory too. So it's interesting subject matter. If you can, it's hard to watch just purely in one sitting in a film, but I think if you're interested in classical music, I would recommend it. Or if you really love, like, the director is Todd Fields, and he did like Little Children. He did some other films, but again, he is definitely more on the artsy type of spectrum. That this is not for everybody. If you're fast, you need a lot of fast-paced stuff. This is not that movie. This is not a blockbuster. This is
It's on my list of my ever-growing list
yeah.
to watch. I was hoping to watch it this week, but I couldn't get to it.
Like I said, I found it interesting, but at the same time, I'm also like, if you sprinkled in just a smidgen of story, it could have done you a little bit of wonders. But again,
Right.
some of these art films and and the ones that critics love, like there's not a story, like
Right.
and it mind boggles me on what critics look for, because it's like, isn't story like number one criteria for a film? But apparently not. So again, hopefully that gives you an idea whether, again, I think this is a purely subject matter film in terms of go see it or not. But again, Cate Blanchett, she's excellent. Love the music topic, all that good stuff. So if that interests you, go see it. Right. And then lastly, and I did not see this film, but you did, Pete. Run, Sweetheart, Run. Give us
Run, Sweetheart, Run. This was on Prime. This is going to be a quick review. It's a movie for sure. The premise is a girl has to take a client out for dinner and entertain him because the boss was double booked, and basically it's a setup. And the client, basically hunts this woman after she escapes the initial attempt to sort of kill her, and she's on her period, and so her scent is really strong. And what is attracted to blood, Paul?
Bears.
No, the
Shark.
guy is not a bear.
Sharks.
The guy is not a shark either. Two good guesses.
Vampires. Vampires.
He's a vampire. Is he a vampire? Is he not a vampire, Paul? It's a chase him down movie. There's lots of blood, lots of attacks, lots of screaming and running, and it's a movie for sure. It's 65% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is
That's not bad.
It's pretty decent review. So I think it's worth a viewing. I don't know the actors in it, so I can't really talk about them, but I mean, they were fine. The guy who played the vampire, he looks really familiar to me. I feel like he's been in something, but I haven't. After I watched it, I really didn't really feel like researching the movie.
Yeah.
But it was okay. It's something to watch if you're at home and you need something to kill, time to kill.
So with the movies you saw, Pete, give us your ranking on what you should see, what you should.
I mean, I think I might have to put All Quiet on the Western Front first because of just the direction it's going, and I know I'm going to love it by the end of it, combined with your review. And then I would put The Good Nurse second, even though I wasn't super thrilled with it, but that's second. And then I would put, I mean, Pray for the Devil and Run Sweetheart Run are close 3 and 4 for me.
Got it. Yeah, I'm pretty similar. 1, All Quiet on the Western Front. 2, Good Nurse. Call Jane, I guess I'd put slightly ahead over Tar, just literally because of one's not 2.5 hours. But I would put those pretty much kind of like you're saying, like neck and neck.
Yeah.
Again, just subject matter. One's again.
For me, do you want to see vampires or do you want to see exorcisms? It's like
right, exactly. So this one is, do you want to see, abortion kind of like human rights type fight movie, or do you want to see kind of a composer and classical music kind of movie?
Yeah, I really feel like this week is definitely a stronger streaming week.
It's not even close. Yeah.
I think unless you have the AMC pass where you can go and rewatch some of these great movies that we've seen, like Till, or you can still see Top Gun. You can still see a lot of great films.
Yeah.
Just because you have the AMC pass.
Yeah.
Come on, sponsor us.
And next week we have a few. These are all streaming. You said, right, Pete?
Yeah, I didn't see any of these out.
So the number one film we have is Causeway, which stars Jennifer Lawrence, and that's going to be on Apple TV Plus or Apple Plus TV. One of those. We'll learn the name one of these days. And then we have the one I'm actually looking forward to the most is Weird, the Al Yankovic story, and that's with Daniel. Yeah. That should be pretty awesome. Super looking forward to that one.
Grew up with Weird Al Yankovic, so this is going to be a joy.
Yeah, and then The Policeman. Also streaming, and then on our regular podcast we have Star Wars coming out later this week, and then next week we have Pulp Fiction followed by Die Hard after that. So we got a nice list, and then we got a bunch of holiday films coming after that. So we're gonna keep gunning through here in the holidays, and we'll keep catching all the new ones. We got The Fabelmans coming out coming soon, Black Panther Wakanda Forever. What else is coming out, Pete? Off the top of your head.
Man, I just saw it. Let me look at my list. Spirited with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds is coming out.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Same weekend as Wakanda and Fabelmans. And then The Sun.
Those are all 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, 2 weeks from now. But those are all supposed to be really good. And if I can make an announcement, I just found out that a documentary that I talked about on this podcast in the past called Turn Every Page that I worked on is being released in the theaters December 30th.
Awesome.
So look for that. Turn Every Page.
Turn Every Page. Awesome. Well, make sure you like and subscribe us if you're listening to us on Apple or Spotify or any other major podcast network. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, please make sure you comment and subscribe below as well. And with that, Pete, that's a cut. Thanks, guys.